Welcome to Heritage Connections at Heritage Headquarters, where conversations turn into real opportunities. I'm your host, Caroline Torres, and today's guest, Angela Salazar, founder and lead strategist of Semilla Consulting, has dedicated her career to helping organizations build stronger cultures, support diverse communities, and created a workspace where people truly belong. But before she became a leader herself, someone believed in her. And that's why today she's going to share with us on how her journey could help your organization and those around you grow. Welcome, Angela, to Heritage Connections.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I know that there's always a story behind the person. Tell us something that if people knew about you will change the way they see you.
Ooh, that is a great question. Starter question, right? A thing if they knew about me would change how they view me. And it's kind of a backwards question for me because I always feel like when I enter spaces, people kind of dismiss me based on my looks, because obviously you can see I have a lot of tattoos and I'm usually the least underdressed in most professional settings. So people kind of write me off. But they just, as soon as they hear that I've been in these spaces, I've been a lead, I've been a director, X, Y, and Z, it's like, oh my gosh, who is this lady? And it kind of pulls them in and want to hear my story. Like, how did you get to these spaces? And I think it's mostly when I tell any part of my background story, it's a little kind of shocking because they don't normally come across somebody like me who's had those experiences that really come from the background that I come from. And they want to say most people get to these spaces through education, right? Formal education. And I haven't gone through formal education. It's all lived experiences and hard work.
Well, one of the things that I love about you when I met you was, when it comes to culture, when it comes to conversations about, how do really communities get built, and you shared something very interesting, right? You said we spend the most amount of time when it comes to our lives and our daily routines at work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And being able to have a way to not only connecting with our coworkers, but creating culture.
Yes.
And again, there's different meanings to culture, right?
Yes.
When you started sharing with me the importance of creating that within the workspace, I was like, oh, wow, you truly know what you're talking about. So now let me ask you this question. What does culture means to you?
Yeah, another great question. Culture can be interpreted many different ways, like you alluded to. When in the corporate spaces, unfortunately, when they say culture, they mean company culture, right? Culture fit. I say we, in some cases where you're applying for a position and you get denied, it's like, oh, that person was not a culture fit. But culture in my mind is, I come from where I come from. I come with a certain flavor. I come with a certain ideas, certain creativity. I'm going to bring that with me to any space that I come into, whether it's, I'm not going to talk in corporate jargon or technical jargon. I'm going to talk the way I talk, whether it's slang. Sometimes little S-bomb come out, X, Y, and Z. I'm going to come the way I come because of where I come from, right? I'm not going to come to a space and assimilate, which in some cases I have in the past, but that's early in career, right? We assume we have to jump into these cultures and fit into it, when now in hindsight, and now what I talk and share with other people is bring your whole self to work. Like you mentioned, we're at work more than we are with our friends and family. We should be able to feel like we belong there. You hired me for a specific reason. You don't want us to fit in a certain box all the time. And we always hear, think outside the box. Outside the box is being from different parts of the community.
And bringing that into the culture of the company so they could have more opportunities to grow by thinking outside the box. I love it.
Diversity of thought, absolutely.
You know, did I say that to you before? Diversity of thought? Because that's where the magic is. And
Yes.
that's why organizations need individuals like you that not only allows them to see, right, the beauty of diversity of thought and how that diverse culture within the company culture could be an addition that helps them become even more successful.
Yes.
So now this brings me to the next question. Now, you growing up in Phoenix, in West Phoenix, what do you think were some of the challenges that shaped you into who you are today to be able to, again, create those opportunities for corporations or organizations?
I think the number one challenge I had growing up, and I know this is a challenge for a lot of people in the community, is assuming these positions and being in these certain rooms only belong to somebody else. They only belong to another community. They only belong to a different person of wealth or a different person of
educational background,
financial stability. Those people are the only ones you're going to see in those seats. And that wasn't for me. That I don't belong in those spaces. And if I do go to those spaces, I'm going to feel some kind of way. That was the biggest challenge I've had to learn. But I will say I've conquered that for the most part, right? There's always going to be those little thoughts that kind of seep in every once in a while. But I've learned throughout my career that you can enter these spaces, share your thoughts and ideas, because they're probably never going to hear something like this. It's a brand new concept to them. And that brand new concept is a huge value to anybody it lands on. And so that's why I always tell people, young, middle career, seasoned, you belong in any space you enter. It doesn't matter what comes out your mouth. You're going to bring value to any space you enter, regardless if you know it or not. It'll eventually come. It'll get easier. I know entering new spaces, uncomfortableness is very difficult to get over, but it does get easier.
So now in the realm of like corporate and bringing that culture and the diversity of thought, what do you think representation matters when it comes to leadership? Why is it so important?
Representation is a huge factor. This is another thing I tell young people, because growing up, I didn't see anybody that looked like me. And that alludes to why I had those thoughts I just talked about, why I felt like those opportunities weren't for me, because I didn't see anybody that looked like me. And then we end up having these negative thoughts or start talking about why aren't there more of us in these spaces, right? And it caused like this angst, the anger. We get frustrated and we're just like, why is there always X, Y, and Z here? And then there comes a moment, at least that happened to me, there comes a moment where it's like, if I don't see the representation there, why am I not being that representative, right? I have to start leading with the purpose. I have to start leading through example and then sharing back to anybody and everybody that wants to listen and say, hey, we have to break into these spaces, right? Whether they want us or not, we have to enter these spaces so that we get more representation. They understand what we want and our needs. It goes back to equity. And I always tell people equity is not the same as equality, right? We're not going to blanket workplace culture, workplace rules to everybody, even though that's kind of how it is right now, but we have to cater for the individual, right? Not everybody's going to work the same. Not everybody has the same work environment or needs that same environment. And so I'm going to give you an example. If you've never had a disability, how would you know what a disabled person needs, right? Mm-hmm. So having somebody with that experience bring them into a workplace, now you're going to get things that they need. That's equity.
And then you get the results that you want from that individual.
Exactly. And the same goes for every single community, every type of culture type. You bring in a diverse, again, it goes back to the diverse thinking, right?
Diversity of thought.
Diversity of thought. You start changing workplace practices because you brought in something that was different. That's the whole biggest factor of diversity. You just start changing things. That's how system change happens.
And do
Right.
you think that by creating that culture, that will help with the employment retention? Because I know a lot of organizations right now or businesses are having a problem retaining employees.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when I'm listening to you, it's like, how do you know the people around you, what their needs are if you don't have the right representation?
Yes. That part, right? That is what I lead with in almost everything I do. If we don't feel like we belong, it's because there's not anybody else that looks like us, right? This is the problem in the school system. This is the problem in workplaces. How many teachers have you ever had in the United States or here that look like you? Very few. The same went for me. I've probably come across one Hispanic teacher probably throughout, I cannot tell you how many grades, majority of grades. None of them look like me. None of them could pique my interest. None of them were teaching me my history, right? So how am I supposed to be engaged with something I cannot associate with, right? I cannot make this connection or relate to. This is why we have a high dropout rate in the school system, right? You get teachers that cannot relate to these students or cannot understand how to communicate with them and have a relationship with them, or even how to understand a student is not being disruptive for just to be disruptive. There's something going on with that student, right? And the same for workplace culture. If you don't see the representation there and you get a boss that's just blanketed the same rules for everybody, doesn't care if you have a disability, doesn't care if you have children, doesn't care if you have X, Y, and Z going on at home, and they're going to treat you all the same, does that make you want to work?
No.
It doesn't. It really causes a lot of angst in everything that we do in society. That's why I always push for representation. I always tell everybody, get in those spaces because you're going to make the change for the better. There's a lot of change that can happen for the better.
But here's the thing, and this is something that I see a lot of people struggling with. Being real, balancing that authenticity and leading professionally. Like, yes. How would you say that? How have you created that balance? Because that's something that a lot of people I see struggle with.
That's a tough one. And I'm not going to lie, it is super tough because there is a lot of pushback in most cases. I remember the first time I wore a t-shirt and my tattoos were showing. Somebody immediately kind of gave me like this look, like, oh, do you work here? At a place that I've been working over 10 years at. So it's like,
you're like, what the heck?
Do you belong here? Yes, I've been working here. And it's tough because workplace culture goes back hundreds of years, essentially, here in America. And it's been created by a dominant culture, not in a majority culture, because that's now shifting, but a dominant culture, right? And so how do I bring my authentic self while maintaining professionalism in a culture that's not mine? You get what I'm saying?
And that's why it makes it so complicated.
Yes.
Because, we're talking about job inclusion and accepting, right? And focus more on the value that employee brings with not only through the experiences that they already have, but how do we create that balance, even as an individual? Because the company, they struggle with that. And that's why they need to hire professionals like you that have that understanding. They struggle with how do we create that culture of the company culture, but also maintain the authenticity of our employees so they are happy and we get to keep them.
Yeah, I will say it kind of happened by accident for me, um, and it was because I was in a certain department. I was just working, but everything that we had to learn was very technical jargon. Books probably this thick. We had to learn new procedures in regards to financial aid. Um, and the only reason why I say it happened by accident is because I was able to learn all this information in this book and understand it and start processing these new procedures. And my coworkers, I saw they were struggling, right? And they're reading the same book and they're like, I'm not getting it. I don't understand it. And because I saw them struggling, I would help them understand it. But I was talking in slang and I'm like using metaphors that they could understand from home, right? I'm like, this little icon looks like a little file. So we're going to call it a file, even though it was called something else. I'm saying like certain things. I don't even, it's kind of difficult for me to explain, but I was using just plain language to explain it and like joking with people, like trying to make it fun, right? And then people kind of noticed that it was helping people understand these new procedures, right? So at the time, I was just a worker bee, and one of the managers noticed and asked if I wanted to be a learning coach because they saw it was helping people, and I was just using plain language because they were like, you can take all this material and just help your coworkers, and then if they struggle on something, you're able to help them. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll take this job. And then a director saw what I was doing and said, you could do this on a bigger level. You could be a corporate trainer. That's when I became a corporate trainer. So it's, like I said, it became easier, but it was by accident. And I say bringing your authentic self, yes, and I understand it doesn't mean you're just going to be wilding. If you're the natural wild type, you're just not going to be wilding out at work, right? You got to maintain a certain decorum. And so you kind of have to just play the field and see what works and what doesn't, right? And I always say, bring your authentic self if it's going to be beneficial to other people.
And to yourself too.
And to yourself, yes.
Right.
Yeah, you talk about the mental load of having a code switch or change into a certain different person because you entered a certain area. It is going to come off performative. I can tell you, leadership can tell it's performative. Other people can tell you're coming off fake. So just bring your authentic self as much as you can, like I said. But again, it is, you have to be aware of who's in the room. You have to be aware of how it's landing as well. It's a lot to do with emotional intelligence, like just being keen on, who's paying attention.
Would you say that there's a difference between big companies and small company when it comes to building that support group? So like that understanding of like each other within the company culture. Is there like a difference between the small corporations that have hundreds of thousands of employees and the mom and pops that probably have maybe 5 or 10 employees? Like, what would you recommend for someone who's trying to build a business and create the right culture so they retain people working with them?
Yeah, that's a great question because I've been in both environments. I've been in environments where there was hundreds, if not thousands of employees. And then I've been in environments where it's less than 30 people, a very small organization. And I always tell people you have to be cognizant of boundaries. In smaller groups, it's very easy to establish personal relationships, even in the workplace. Just because you're there, it's small, you're not coming across a ton of people. In most cases, it's just kind of laxed, right? It's a little bit more lax than in a corporate environment. You just have to establish boundaries. If somebody is oversharing, right? Okay, I probably didn't need to know about that. Like, let's kind of like change the subject, right? So we have to be careful of boundaries in those settings, because sometimes if you're not aware of boundaries, you can have a coworker unload on you, and then it does something to you as well, right? You feel like you have to fix that person, or you're like, you come into work, you're like, I don't want to hear like all their complaining, their gripes, X, Y, and Z. Like, so you got to establish boundaries in that case. The corporate setting is the total opposite of that. It's so rigid. You see people all the
There's so
time.
many boundaries.
So many boundaries.
Then now
Yes.
you have to create groups within the company to relax.
Yes.
The guidelines.
Yes.
So the understanding gets built. I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
As you and I having this conversation.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. That's the whole reason why companies have started employee resource groups, affinity groups, business resource groups, whatever you want to call it, because it's so rigid. There are so many boundaries. They need spaces to be heard. They need spaces to be seen, right? To show their authentic selves, to have that culture feel, to feel like they belong and that they're included. So yeah, it's a weird mix. Small and large.
I love it because you know what? It brings me to the next question, which is about building legacy. What kind of legacy do you hope Semilla leaves behind for the corporations that you're working with, or the individual businesses that you're working with?
Legacy, that's a ginormous question, right? In regards to legacy, I always think of myself as a rebel with the cause. And I always say that because I have broken rules, those long established corporate etiquette rules. I say rebel with the cause because I've broken those rules, but there's a purpose behind it. My whole purpose is just to feel belonged, like just to feel seen. Just to know that my thoughts and ideas are valued and mattered, and to share that with everybody else who doesn't understand that or see that yet in themselves. I've been there. I've been in those meetings where I've sat there, I've spoken up, and it just glossed over somebody's mind, or somebody spoke over and was on to the next thing. I remember I recently had a conversation and I was telling them that I've been in those meetings where I sat there and I thought, are my ideas dumb? Are they stupid? And then after a while, I just spoke up. And yeah, I didn't land the first time, but I kept doing it. I kept doing it and I kept opening up my mouth and making suggestions. And then people started listening, right? People started paying attention. And then that's when they started seeing me, started hearing me. But it took a long time to get to that place. And I always tell people, when I thought I couldn't say something, or I thought something I was going to say was going to be dumb, it actually has value. And now I push for other people to do the same. It's tough. I get it. It's tough, but everybody does have value. Everybody is in that space for a reason, whether they know it or not. You got hired there for a reason. You have to flex those muscles.
So speak up.
Yes, speak up.
If you're going to say one thing, it's like you got to speak up.
Yeah.
Those that speak are the ones that get the results they need in their life.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Well,
love it.
I mean, you know, I said rebel with cause, my legacy, but it goes way in this, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a big puzzle piece, right? I'm a rebel with the cause. Speak up, say something. But then it all comes back to this big picture of representation. If we don't say the things, we don't do the things, we're not going to get in those spaces. The next generation, the generations to follow, are they going to be complaining that they don't see representation? Or are you going to be that representation for that younger generation? Wow. Right?
Wow. That's incredible. So, words of inspiration. Give me one word of inspiration that you want to leave everybody with right now.
One word. a great question. I don't even know what word to choose.
You're like, there's so many. Oh, give me a few.
A
That's
few
what gives
words.
it. Yes.
I just love this quote. I use it. If somebody's been in my session, they've heard it before. Be the change you want to see.
Wow.
By Gandhi.
Amazing. Be the change you want to see. You guys heard that? The change starts with you. So be that change that we want to see. Nice. So now we're going to change gears a little bit here, just to kind of spice things up. So what the dynamic in this section is, I'm going to ask you questions and you're going to answer them as fast as you can.
Let's get it done.
So we call it rapid fire. So aquí viene la candela. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
One word that describes your leadership style.
Fuerza.
Okay. If Semilla were a plant, which one would it be?
A plant?
If it was a plant, what would it be?
Aloe vera, because it has some healing components to it.
Love it.
But it's got a little edge, right? Little edges on it.
Awesome. A book every entrepreneur should read.
Ooh. I'm going to have to pass on that one.
What's one thing people always misunderstand about you?
That I truly have had like 3 different lives I've lived. Like I've learned so much and been in some amazing experiences. I think it surprises people.
Nice. Your biggest source of inspiration?
My biggest source of inspiration. That one's a good one as well. And I couldn't answer that for the longest time because I truly grew up not having any inspiration. I was born and raised in a place that I only saw poverty and violence. I didn't know any Hispanic leaders at the time. But the way I found out was through one of my first mentors. Her name is Suzanne Rivera, and she goes by Triste. She is from the Garfield area in Phoenix. And she's actually the one that kind of started me on this journey of living a better life for myself and leaving a legacy for those younger generations. So she probably my inspiration to being who I am now. I mean, there's many other mentors that I have, and I attribute everything to every single person that's crossed my path.
Amazing. Favorite place in Arizona?
Phoenix. Second place, I would say Woods Canyon. It's up north just because like the pines and there's the lake. It's just a refreshing place to be and really grounds me.
Nice. One person, past or present, that you would love to have dinner with? Anyone, celebrity, anyone. Doesn't have to be a celebrity too.
Past or present.
That you would love to have dinner with?
Eva Longoria. I would love to have dinner with her just because she has degrees in Chicano studies and she's doing amazing advocacy work right now. And I would just love to have a conversation about life and her journey and all the things.
Nice. One word you hope people remember when they hear the name Angela Salazar.
That I inspired people.
Inspiration,
yes.
Well, Angela, with those rapid fire questions, we came to the conclusion of this episode. But I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming into Heritage Connection, because that's what it's all about. It's about building understanding, building community, building relationships, and highlighting those that are making a difference in our community. My biggest takeaway from this conversation was representation matters.
Absolutely.
So all of those that are building a culture in their businesses, they have to make sure that there's the right representation, big or small, that you
Absolutely.
create that culture that helps you grow and take your business to the next level. How do we find you?
You could find me at www.growwithsemilla.com. I'm also on LinkedIn and Instagram, Grow with Semilla, or Semilla Consulting LLC via Google.
Well, for those that couldn't take notes on all of that, we're going to share all those links on the comments below. So don't forget to follow, share, and like this episode if you want us to continue to create these opportunities for your business and for others. So since all good things have come to an end for today, our episode is over, but I'll see you on our next episode of Heritage Connections at Heritage Headquarters. See you soon.